A little over a year ago, Brenda Cassellius was appointed as superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools. Her time in this role has been filled with significant challenges, including a $46 million budget deficit and a lead contamination crisis. She joins us to discuss the district's current stability and her plans to improve literacy and close the education gap. Thanks for joining us on Black Nouveau.
Of course, happy to be here with you, James.
So, what has been your biggest challenges so far during your first year at MPS?
Well, there's a lot of them. So it's been a difficult year, a little bit bigger than what I thought I was signing up for, but also incredibly worthy work on behalf of the children of Milwaukee. I think the really big challenge when I first came was the lead crisis that we had, and just ensuring that we were taking care of our buildings and making sure that our students were able to come to schools that were safe. And to give parents the information they needed to make sure their homes were safe too, and then to test students and make sure that we were able to know that the work that we were doing was continuing to keep them safe as well.
Was there any surprises for you in your first year?
Well, I think the finance work has been pretty surprising to me. That's been an ongoing challenge at how deep the difficulties were within the finances, and so cleaning that up is a big deal. Also, that the technology systems didn't speak to one another was a surprise and a big challenge, I think, as well. And then, of course, we had the vacancy challenge. With the number of teachers, it was the Journal Sentinel who did a really good job of reporting on the vacancies and the real challenge facing not only Milwaukee, but really the whole state of Wisconsin.
Let's talk about this $46 million budget deficit. How did you address this, and will this affect students in the classroom?
So, of course, we had to get our audits done first. So getting our audits done was a huge, big piece of it. Imagine not auditing your own household checkbook and knowing where your money is. We needed to know what revenues were coming in, account for that appropriately, and then also account for the dollars that were going out the door, and to control for overspending. And so because we didn't have those audited books, we didn't have line items cite to be able to make those decisions, to be able to put in place the controls. Now that we had the funding year 24-25 school year books all in the back burner, so to speak, we were able then to go and look at where did we have overspending. A lot of that was on salaries, nutrition, expenses, our transportation, overages on our health care costs and compensation and benefits to our employees. Important to do, but still cost a lot of money, and we need to make sure that we put those controls in place. One other surprise that I found was just the difference between what some schools had and what other schools had. So there were, I think this was kind of an open secret in Milwaukee about some schools got more resources than other schools, and we instituted a standard of care which looks at our class size, and we were able to bring down our class sizes in some of our early grades to ensure that kids have a great opportunity to learn to read, and then also balance resources because our central office was a little bit more staffed than our classrooms were staffed, and so that was really important for us in our fiscal health moving forward.
One thing that you said you wanted to do when you first came here is get a lot of parental involvement. You had held listening sessions. Was that well attended, and what did parents tell you?
Our first listening sessions were very well attended. We had 9 listening sessions starting in the summer, going into the fall. Then we attempted a new series of listening sessions. There were about 4 of them that we did, which were not as well attended. I was not attending those. I was having my staff and the academic superintendents for those areas in the schools attend those, and those weren't as well attended. So I think that people want to see me come out. They want to come out and speak directly with the superintendent. So we've kind of adjusted. So we did that for our 4 budget hearings that we did this past winter, and then we had good turnout at those budget hearings as well. So if I show up and I go out, people show up, but I do want to get the community used to my cabinet members coming out and talking with them more regularly too.
Enrollment has dropped 30% since I was in school in 1987. That leaves a lot of schools half full. How are you going to address these schools that are half full?
Well, prior to my arrival, the district had already started to tackle this problem with enlisting with a contractor and having them come in and work with the community. And they had an advisory group that looked at the utilization. They walked all of our buildings and gave us some really good data about the utilization rate and how many students are in the school, what the cost and the ages of the school, what the deferred maintenance was, and really what your return on investment was for keeping that school open. And they came with a list, a pretty large list of schools. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 17 schools where they were looking to close them or merge them. And but most of them were in the Black community. And I knew that when I looked at the advisory, the Black community wasn't represented on that advisory in a way that I felt was enough for us to bring forward a recommendation. They also brought forward then later, after bringing some of their initial recommendations and getting some of that feedback, some investments that you could do. You could do an investment strategy. So I chose to bring that forward, and we have 4 schools in the 53206 neighborhood where we are making some major investments, about $20 million worth of investments, hoping that we can get out there, talk to the community, and they'll send their kids to these new schools, or these schools that are newly renovated and also have additional staffing in them.
Right. In April of 2024, voters approved a $252 million budget for MPS. How was that money spent? And in hindsight, was that enough?
So they spend that money on art, music, and PE for the operating cost to buy art teachers, music teachers, PE teachers. And that money is used, and we have also used that this coming year as well. So we added about 7 additional teachers overall across the district for the upcoming budget because it is important. It gives groundedness and connectedness for students. It helps celebrate culture. It builds good school climate and good school spirit and connectedness and peer relationships and adult to student relationships, brings the community into the school, vibrancy. And so those are just wonderful ways to give back, and I'm so grateful. I never miss an opportunity to thank all of our Milwaukee residents for their generosity in supporting the school district. Was it enough? I think at the time, yes, because we had the ESSER funding coming into the district. I wasn't here then, of course, but they had additional revenue coming in because of COVID during that time. And so that buoyed the district a little bit at times when the state wasn't giving additional aid to the school district. But now that the state has not given that additional aid, I know that in the future it will not be enough. And that's the hard conversation I have to have with the community. Also, because of the lead expenses, it cost us $43 million to do the lead expenses. We literally painted about 3,500 schools, 3,500 houses in equation to what we had to do in those 50 schools in terms of square footage and what we were trying to paint to encapsulate the lead within the schools. So that was a huge expense. And so with our buildings about 85 years in age, I think that there are 2 things that the community is going to have to wrestle with. One is dealing with the life expectancy of our buildings, which is running out, and the fact that we have operating expenses where the state funding is not keeping up with the inflationary increases that are happening within our schools.
Gotcha. We're going to continue this conversation online where we will talk about compensating students for perfect attendance.